everyone, and welcome to Arthelia's Vintage and Handmade, my YouTube channel where I talk about everything vintage, knit, sewing, and crochet. I'm so glad you joined me today. This is our very first podcast episode, so it's going to be a little more casual. I've got my tea. I'm drinking Twinings Irish breakfast with some cream. Grab your favorite beverage, cup of tea, cup of coffee, whatever you like, and let's have a chat about all things knitting, sewing, and vintage. Okay, so the first thing I would like to talk about are my works in progress that I have. We're going to start with the crochet because it's not as much. What I will do is I will put the timestamps for the division between knitting and sewing. In case you're only interested in one of those, you can skip ahead. Okay, crochet, I have my very first, very large project. That is something I just pick up every now and then. It's kind of ongoing. I call it the Ann Perkins Afghan. If you've ever watched the TV show Parks and Recreation, in the very beginning, one of the characters has an Afghan over the back of her sofa, and it's just looks like a basic granny square Afghan, but it's just a little bit different. It has some circles in the center instead of starting out as a square. It's really, really cute. I love the color combinations. So I went right to the internet, and I of course found somebody that had made up the pattern. I will post the link to this pattern so you can find it too. It's just a free pattern. You can download it. Here's a picture of what it looks like in a scene from the TV show. You can see it on the one of the characters right there, but it's got really cute colors. Here also, I found this separately on Pinterest, I believe, is a map of the layout of all the colors chart. So what I'm doing is just every now and then I'll work on a square. For example, here's one, and they're really big. They're really big squares. So this is going to be a very, very big blanket when it's done. But I just think the colors are really, really cute. I love the turquoise, the pink, the greens, and I've matched up the colors to the ones that that I think look most like the ones on the show. The yarn I'm using is just good old Red Heart Jumbo. I don't think I have any of the labels in this bag. This is my bag of all just my squares. But the big acrylic, it's not bad quality, and for something like this that's just going to get, you know, thrown around on your couch if you got pets or things like that, a yarn like this is perfectly fine. So just the big chunky Red Heart Super Saver. They're like $5 for a big giant one. You can get them in Walmart. If you can't find the color you want, you can get them, you know, you can order them online. They're everywhere. If anyone is interested in the colors that I specifically used, just let me know and I will list them. I also have this is on my Ravelry page, and I list all the colors there. So if you're on Ravelry, you can just go look it up and see everything that I've used in this. But this is something I'll just pick up every now and then and work on a square or two if I feel like it. It's kind of just, you know, you're not feeling good, you're maybe sick or something like that, and you just want to do something simple, and I just work up a few squares. So that is that project. The other crochet project that I have going on is part of my Make 9. Now, I don't do a ton of crochet projects for myself, simply for the fact that I have spent so much time crocheting for other people in the past 10 years. As I mentioned, if you've seen my initial video, the introduction to this channel, I had an Etsy shop for the past 10 years where I made hand crocheted snoods, turbans, bags, head wraps. So that's a lot of crocheting, thousands and thousands of orders. And I've just I've been burnt out of crochet. I like to do it. It was what I first learned. My grandmother taught me when I was maybe 9 or something like that. We used to make these little crocheted snake bookmarks and things like that. And I just took off from there and got out her old crochet books and just taught myself all the different stitches, and that's what I always did, and it's what I find the simplest. And but needless to say, I'm just tired of crochet. But this pattern, when I saw this pattern, I just had to make it because it's the 1930s vintage pattern that you crochet and then you weave into what you've crocheted to make a plaid effect. And it's so beautiful. I'll pop up a picture if you haven't seen it before. I do talk about it in my Make 9 knit and crochet video. I would talk more about it there. But here's my progress so far. I'm doing the green and white. It looks really wide, but I'm hoping because it's going to be gathered into a knit band at the bottom, that will help. And of course, you know, there's no weaving yet, so it's just a stripe. But it's just a very basic, simple pattern, so might be something good for a beginner crocheter. All it is double crochet and chains. And like I mentioned before, you can buy this pattern on Etsy. It's a vintage 1930s pattern. And that is all I have in progress right now for crochet. Oh, the yarn that I'm using on this is Knit Picks Shine Sport. I chose this because I've had this green yarn in my stash and tried to make multiple things out of it, never happy with the way it was turning out. So, so far, so good on this. And then the white is also the same Knit Picks Shine Sport. A little low on the white. I'm going to have to order more, but I have plenty of this green. But I'm going to be very happy to finally get something made out of it and get it out of my stash. Okay, so that's it for crochet. Then knitting. This is my one finished object. And I'll explain more at the very end of the podcast of why I don't have a ton of finished objects in anything. But this I finished about a month or so ago, and it was part of a knit along for this pattern, and I absolutely did not finish it within that time frame, but that's okay. I did finally get it finished. If you saw my last video on my Fashion Fabrics Club unboxing video, I was wearing this sweater. It is the skater sweater, and it is a vintage pattern. The original design is to do it in navy with all of the color work done in white. I chose to do it in turquoise, and then I divided up the two different sections to do red and white at the top because I love turquoise and red together. So I'm semi-pleased with how this came out. I haven't made myself a garment that has fit me correctly in quite a while, and this is no exception. This is made from a vintage pattern, and what I did, it was just a single small size pattern. What I did was I increased the motif to add one additional one across the bust to give me a little more shaping there. But apparently what I have come to learn is I am a very loose knitter, and I tend to make things bigger for myself than I really need. I like to have my knits fit more like a vintage silhouette, not too baggy. I can wear this, it's fine, it fits good in the shoulders and everything. The sleeves are a little loose, and I was not thrilled with this yarn. And as you can see, it's like, it's very loose. I could have knit this much tighter. I should have just sized down needles. I actually was afraid I was using needles that were going to be too small. I'm just always paranoid that whatever I make is going to be too small, and then it just turns out too large. So, and the yarn, I wasn't thrilled with this yarn. It split a lot as I was working with it. It catches on everything now because of it being loose. It was just a Rowan Superwash Merino. It's very soft. It probably would be better on smaller needles. I'm happy with my color work. I think that came out nicely. Floats are good. And yeah, I'm just not thrilled with the sizing. It fits, I can wear it, but it's larger than I would like. So that is my one finished object that I started over a year ago, and I worked on and off, and like I said, I'll explain that stuff at the end of the podcast if you stick around that long. Okay, so next on to works in progress. Okay, I have the Hortensia cardigan that is mostly finished. It's off the needles. It is again done in stash yarn that I had, Knit Pick Shine Sport. Why I bought so much of this Shine Sport yarn, I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. I live in the South, so I guess I was leaning toward getting cottons, but they just don't knit up the same way as wool. I should just stop thinking that I'm gonna wear knitwear in the summer, I guess. This is done. I altered the sleeves. They were much too big. They were just drapey. So again, I had to size them down. The shawl collar has to be tacked down. When I put it on, it seems a little too wide. And now I don't know if that's because the only thing I haven't done is I haven't sewn the buttons on, and I have really cute vintage buttons that I have selected. But it just, I don't know if it's because of the drapey heaviness of this cotton yarn that when I put it on, I don't know, if I slip it on now, if you can tell what I'm talking about or not, but the arms just seem too wide. I don't know if putting the collar, yeah, see, it's just too wide. It's just too big on the shoulders. But it's really cozy. I really loved working on this. See, even the arms up here are still just too big on me. I knit it to what, I thought my size was going to be, but again, apparently I am just too big of I'm too much of a loose knitter. Fits okay in the waist, and the bust is just, yeah, just no good. So this may end up getting frogged. It is really comfy and cozy though. I really like it. Whether I will frog it and do it again in this same yarn or not, probably not. This may end up having to be something crocheted. This yarn is just very finicky, and I don't know. But the pattern, I loved working on this pattern. It was so fast. I have never knit anything up so fast the way I did this. So I am definitely looking forward to doing this again in a wool. I think that's going to be my next thing. I did get a nice fit where I sized down on my arms down here, but where I didn't, it's just too big. But do know that I love Andi Satterlund's patterns. I am excited to do more, and definitely will revisit this pattern at another time with some wool. Okay, so that is that. The next is one of my socks. I guess you could say I have a hoe, because one is done. I fully intended to do the box of socks, knit along that Wool and Vine hosts, and I have one done. This was my January socks, and I only have one done. This is done in Knit Picks Felici sock yarn in Goth Kitty, and I made a slight, it's just a basic vanilla sock. The only thing I did differently was this little treatment between the stripes, because I don't always love the way stripes stop and start, but I really like this little effect. And this idea I got from Amy on the Stranded podcast. She did this on her striped socks, and I really like the way it breaks up the stripe and makes it a little more smooth. So that's that. I have, let's see, I'm up to, I've done my gusset on my second one, and I just have to pick up for my stitches on the side and get this going. But I haven't done a lot of sock knitting lately. I've just kind of had other things I've had to do, and my socks have just not been loved that much. I knit my socks on 9-inch circulars. I really like the control. I've tried doing magic loop, and I don't love the way the yarn pulls, and I think because I tend to be a loose knitter, I'm afraid of getting more gapping and things like that, and I can be really more precise with the 9-inch circulars. But I really like that. These are the Chiago red lace, which are my favorite needles, hands down. Okay, so that's for my box of socks. If I ever get some time where I'm not doing a lot of other things, I suppose I could still manage to get through 12 socks this year. I'm 2 pair behind, but you know, we'll see. Okay, and then I have another work in progress that I've put on a timeout because I was just flying through it, and then I've made the same mistake like 3 times and had to rip back, and I don't know what that mistake is. This is the Spindrift shawl by Helen Stewart. Not anything new. I'm not a shawl knitter, or at least I wasn't a shawl knitter, because my style of dress, I'm not into wearing the scarf style wrapped around your neck. But I definitely in the summer will, you know, if I'm wearing a dress that's backless or something like that, if I'm in air conditioning, I will wear a shawl traditionally around my shoulders. So I had bought this yarn thinking it was a sock yarn. We were on a little visit up to Eureka Springs, and there is a yarn shop up there. The name is I'm drawing a blank on the name, but I'll post it below for anyone in the area that if you're in Eureka Springs, it's a nice shop to stop in. They have some local yarns. I didn't get a local yarn, but I got the AVAH, and it's the colorway is Wild Blue Yonder. It's a superwash merino. But it has no nylon, so not good for socks. So I had this beautiful skein, and I had to decide what I was going to do with it. So I thought it would be great to just try out a shawl. And here's the yarn. It's this navy blue, and then you have the ivory color with the speckles. Neon pink and green. I really like it. It's really fun. It's totally out of the norm of what I, you know, gravitate to, but it's just fun. It'll be a fun little pop of color. I don't know, somewhere in the lace I'm getting caught up. It's not difficult, but somehow the last row that I did when I went to check my stitch count to her chart, I did not have the right number of stitches. So I guess back again, I'm going to have to rip it. I really, it looks fine. I don't see any problem anywhere. So when I get, you know, I'm not aggravated with it anymore, I will rip it back and try to watch that stitch count a little bit better and see if I can get on to finishing it, because it's mostly done. I'm down to the end, the lace, and then I just, you know, but I've redone it several times. I really could use it this spring and through the summer and everything, so I need to get this one off the needles. This will definitely be an episode with a whole lot more projects to talk about, simply because it is my first one, and my production rate is not super fast right now, and so the future podcasts won't have as many to catch up on. This is kind of the catch-up one. Oh, and the shawl's living in my little bag. I made this bag. I absolutely fell in love with this fabric, and I could not get a quantity large enough to do any big projects for it. So I just got a half a yard. It has vintage Barbie and Ken on it, all the different time periods, 1950s, 1970s. I love Superstar Barbie and Ken. That's my generation. So really, really cute. So I made this little project bag. This was my first one Next time I don't think I will use the same interfacing. It's stiff and it holds up nice, but it was not, it kind of made it a little crinkly. And then I lined it with this really cute sparkly hot pink star print fabric, and it's got like little silver glitter in there. I don't know if that the camera's going to pick up that little sparkle, but that is what I lined that with, and I really love it. My first little project bag, and I love the print. My Penelope sweater. Well, the sweater is not called Penelope. The sweater is just called Ladies Fair Isle. It's another vintage pattern. And I started this winter, and I'm probably not going to pick it up again because I'm going to pick it up again. I'm not going to pick it up again until cooler temperatures, or getting close to the time that if I finish it, I will wear it. I have the back completely finished, and I'm working on the front. It's a pattern that has to be sewn together, as most vintage patterns are. You can convert them to working them in the round, which I actually did contemplate doing on this sweater, but the needles that I had that I was working with, just they weren't long enough, so I just opted to go for just doing it flat and seaming it together. But I matched up the colors as best I could to what the original photograph shows. I don't think I have a print out, but maybe I do. Yes. Oh, well, it's not in color, so it's not going to show you the colors. But here's the pattern. Yeah, see, the pattern company is Penelope, but it's just called Ladies Fair Isle. I think it's adorable. I love it. And it does have a color photo, so I was able to match up. Here's my front. I really enjoy working Fair Isle. There's just something about it. I just adore it. It's like my favorite thing. And I love these colors together. I think they work. They work great. This is all knit picks. As many times as I've said knit picks in this podcast, they're not sponsored. I just happen to have bought a lot of yarn from knit picks in the past. I buy other yarns now, but I don't know. When it comes to just like this fingering and being able to get a good palette, this is the palette yarn, a big selection of inexpensive, nice, soft fingering yarn. Yeah, I really like this. It's great for knitting on a budget. What else do I want to say about this? Okay, sizing. Sizing, again, is my bane of existence. This pattern is 33 to a 35 inch bust, which I am not. But since I have the tendency to knit everything too big, I decided I would just go ahead and knit this exactly as it was written and see how it turned out. So this has been an experiment, and you might say you're absolutely crazy for doing an experiment in Fair Isle like that for sizing, because after all that work, would you not want it to fit? But actually, once this is blocked, and even look, just holding it up against myself, here's the arms, I think it's going to be fine. I don't think there's going to be any problem. Maybe this is the back, I don't know, because it's you know, bands across the top. So this might be the back, but either way, you make them exactly the same, and then you only alter. But this seems, and it's only going to get a little bigger once it's blocked. It's not going to shrink. So I really think I'm not going to have a problem, and I might actually have something that fits finally well. Why do I knit so loosely? I don't know. It's just a thing. And I'm not big on swatching. I have actually swatched some things, like the turquoise, the skater sweater. I swatched for that and it still came out too big. So, yeah. Don't know if there's anything else to say. This is how far I am on the other one. And it looks tiny at the bottom, but hey, that's gonna stretch. Again, these are my Chiago red lace needles. I cannot see. This is on a 3.75 millimeter US 5 needle. That's what I'm doing that on. Maybe if you did it on a 3 or something like that, it would be the size. I think it's going to be fine. I really think it's going to be fine. Okay, next up is something that I think is going to be frogged. Back when I started getting into knitting again, I bought this yarn, again in Knit Picks, but I bought acrylic. And this is again for sizing. I think this is, I don't even want to waste my time. Excuse the paper crinkling. Here's the pattern. It's called Cherry Ripe. It's a vintage pattern. You can find it on Etsy. It's cream with little ribbing or white, and then it has the cherry print at the top and a little collar. I have probably 95% of this done. But now knowing, let's see, I haven't even picked this up in a while to look at it. This is, I was working on Knit Picks needles, but you know, since I've switched needles, I didn't do good on my floats. My floats, I think, are too tight. You can see puckering here, whereas in my other stuff you can't. And it's also, all I did to size this up, I didn't change the size, is I just changed my yarn weight. I think it might be a DK. And I did lengthen it as I was going along. I was afraid it was going to be too short, so I lengthened it. But I really can't decide. I mean, should I even finish this? It could be knitted so much better now. And I'm just so hesitant after the skater sweater, the way that looked. Yeah, I've got that same look here, and I don't want this to be just all... So I'm thinking I'm going to frog this. I'm going to use smaller needles. I have all the yarn for it, so I will go ahead and use it, even though it's, you know, it's acrylic. It feels nice. But I really would like to have this sweater. It's cherries. But I've done the collar, I've done the front, the back. This is a sleeve. I think this is maybe my second sleeve. But I don't think, I did not do good. I did not catch my floats, because you have such huge floats on this, because you're skipping a lot between cherries. So you got to catch your floats, and I wasn't catching my floats then. I didn't know about it. I mean, this goes back quite a number of years, and I was just restarting to get back into knitting, and I don't want to finish it and then just hate it and not want to wear it. I want this to be something that, guys, this is the sleeve. I want this to be something I'm really going to enjoy wearing and be proud of, and I think I can do so much better. So tell me what you think. Yes, frog, let's redo, do better. That's where I'm leaning. It's not a hard pattern. I think I'll just like it better if I frog it and redo. So that's the Cherry Ripe sweater. Again, you can get that on Etsy. What else do we have? I think that's it. That's all my works in progress. I might have a couple of gift things in progress, but I'm not going to share those. But that's all I have in progress. So let's go on to acquisitions and the knitting arena. What I have, the first couple of things I have here are some books I picked up in the local library. My son had to work on a report, so we had to go get a few books for reference. So while I was there, I thought, hey, I haven't been here a long time, I'm gonna go see what's in the knitting section. So I picked up Vintage Knit, I've not heard of this book before. There was nothing there that I recognized. This is 25 knitting and crochet patterns refashioned for today. Marnie Malik with Geraldine Warner. It says inside, Vintage Knit offers lovers of retro style 25 beautiful knitting patterns from the 1930s, 1940s, and 1950s, regraded to fit modern sizes, small, medium, and large. These elegant vintage styles have been knitted using modern yarns easily available today to ensure perfect results at home. I don't love the photos of how they've styled the modern because that's not my look, but if you're into that, there's some that stand out to me that I really love, and I, just might photocopy the pattern. I don't think that's illegal, is it? I'm not going to sell it or anything. This one. Oh, here's the vintage picture. Don't look at me. And here's the modern. Really like that crossover cable. Again, I've not done cables, so... And this one's kind of pretty. There's the vintage. There's the modern. Looks kind of see-through on the modern version, but I don't know, not on the vintage. I like this as a vintage, but what is with this picture? I mean, who can see the sweater when she's like grabbing it and yanking it like that? That's like, no. And there's a little better picture. I don't know, it just looks a little, I don't know. I don't love the modern version on her. Again, maybe it's how you would style it. Some of these, they don't even look like the same sweater. This, I love. And here's the modern. Not crazy about this color combination, but it's not awful. And it basically looks the same. So that's maybe like 2 or 3 patterns. This dress is great, but I think I would lose my mind before I knit something like that. Okay, so there's that one. And then the other one that I picked up there is called Vintage Modern Knits. These are not made from vintage patterns or anything. These are just, it says contemporary designs using classic techniques. Courtney Kelly and Kate and Gagnon Osborne. I didn't find a ton in here that, I mean, this is cute. Squirrels. This is pretty. It's the one on the cover. This Baltic mittens and beret. There's cable knit sweaters. This one, I think I like this one maybe the most. I think that's a little more unusual. Tillman Island pullover. I like that. Sleeves are a little more of a looser bishop style, and then it has like the boat neck. I think that's a boat neck, right? Yeah. Yeah, I really like that one. But everything else is not anything that I haven't really seen before. Books that I have actually acquired. This I really love. This is the Columbia Knitting Manual. I got it recently from an estate sale. It was actually gifted to me. This book is from 1947. So yes, in the beginning, Has some knitting instructions, fundamental knitting instructions, how and where to measure. Then we start off with some baby. This has a little bit of everything in it. Men's blankets, baby, kiddos, cute. There's another skater type sweater. I think this is more like a teen size. This dress. Okay, I just said I would never knit a dress. But if I was going to knit a dress, I might have to knit this one. This is really, really cute. And the belt on it is amazing. Again, I think that's a teen. But my favorite thing in the whole book is this sweater right here. I love this. This definitely is on the list. I have to make this. Okay, and then we have a little more baby, and then we go into men's. There's a nice Argyle sweater vest. This could, you know, be men's or women's. Oops. Probably just going to be the sizing. That's different. Oh, and what is this? A dog sweater. Haha. Afghans, and then we have like a stitch dictionary, how to do all the different stitches, and then all the patterns. So that's that. And then I got this on a recent trip up to Northwest Arkansas. I stopped in the Dixon Bookshop, which is a treasure trove. If you are a book lover and you have not been there and you're in the area, it is worth going. It is classic. Every time I'm there, I can find something. This is Knitting Nostalgia, Knitwear 1920-1950, today's style from yesterday's designs. This one is from the 1980s. You can still find it on Amazon. And I believe somebody recently posted this same sweater. They had seen it on a TV show. I think it might have been a UK TV show. I'm not sure. So if you've seen that sweater, you'll know what I'm talking about. This is a riot because the models that are wearing them are so 80s. And I don't think, you know, they really altered much except for just, oh yeah, this is definitely the way we're going to style that. It's great. So even in the 80s, we were trying to do our vintage, make our vintage modern. Yeah, here's that sweater. There's a sweater on that. The same one. I really like that one. I would make that one. Here's the original ladies jumper from Patton, super or beehive fingering. It's definitely a 30s. That's the original. This one's cute. Here's the original. And here's the modern 80s version. Okay, here's the original of that. It's a girl's jumper, but apparently they've sized it up to be adult size because she wasn't a little girl. But oh my goodness. And then here's the original. Quite a difference. Anyway, cute book. Did I say? Yeah, this is on Amazon if you're interested in that. Knitting Nostalgia. Jill Jago and Jackie Evans. And I forget what year, but it's 1980s. And it's Patton's, so you can still get Patton's yarns. 1985. I will not tell you how old I was then. Okay, so that's it for the knitting segment. So if you're here for the knitting and you're not interested in the sewing, I will see you hopefully the next time. And now on to sewing. Okay, so first thing, elephant in the room. This is a finished object. This is the one finished object I have. I actually finished it the end of last year, but it was something that I had started the previous year and got most of it done except for maybe hemming or something, and then I was just not able to wear it for a while. But this is Butterick 6318. It's the one with the cummerbund. I will try to stand up in this little close quarters here so you can see the cummerbund. I did it with turquoise, and it is, of course, print is kitchen appliances and starbursts. How much more awesome could it be? Anyway, really simple pattern. When I started it, it goes together very easy. Great for a beginner. You don't have to set in sleeves or anything like that. It has the kimono sleeve, boat neck, very simple, very easy to do. So love it. Would definitely make more of these. It's great for novelty prints, stuff that you just want to make up quick and for a fun, everyday kind of little dress. I made it specifically for my work, for a work dress. I work at an antique mall called Bellstar Antiques in downtown Fort Smith, Arkansas. And what better dress to wear at an antique mall with all the stuff that you actually sell every day. So I can't say more about this. This is just a quilting cotton I picked up at Hobby Lobby, and it's great fun dress. I've gotten a lot of compliments on it. Okay, so that's really all I have for finished objects. I do have this dress right over here that is finished. We can take a little peek over here. This is not something that I have recently made. This is something I made. I looked it up. I made this dress 5 years ago. 5 years ago, and I have never worn it. Why didn't I wear it? Because the one time I attempted to wear it, I put a full slip on under it, and you could still see the full slip. I made it from vintage, it's not organdy, vintage voile that I got on eBay like 10, 11 years ago, and I had it in my stash. It's a beautiful royal blue print. If I can bring it any closer, but it has roses and little dots on it, but it's completely see-through. You can probably even see the black of this, my little model mannequin, underneath it. So what I did for my Make 9 this year was I planned to make a slip that actually matched and went under it, that would basically be like a lining, and I would not have that problem. So work in progress, and this is nearly a finished object. I worked on it yesterday. I got it mostly done. This is the slip that I made to go underneath, and it works perfectly. It does exactly what I wanted it to do. It's just royal blue cotton. I took a swatch of that fabric to the store when I picked this out to make sure I would get a nice blend of color without, you know, overshadowing it or anything. This looks a lot brighter on camera than it actually is. The only thing I have left to do is to sew the straps on, but I want to do that on me to make sure I get them in the right position, and then hem it. It's made it's cut on the bias. I will show you the pattern that I used. It's a simplicity pattern, vintage. I made this version right here. It doesn't have the lace or anything on it. I had intended to, I don't have the, I can't read the number. Oh, 26.92, it's on the back. Okay, so 26.92 vintage pattern, really easy. If you're new to sewing, you might have a little difficulty doing the cups. They're fully lined, and lining them up might be a little bit tricky. I have this little bit of a gap simply because I altered my size a little bit, so it doesn't bother me. I think originally the way the pattern, they were supposed to link up right here, but I left a larger seam allowance. I was going to grade this pattern. It's a bust 38, which when I was a little bit smaller, all size 20 vintage patterns fit me perfectly like a glove. But I was not sure this would, you know, it would still fit, even though that's the size that that dress is, and it does fit me. But what I did was I laid out my pattern pieces and I measured them, and they came right about to the size that I need. So instead of doing any kind of drastic alterations, which would have made it too big, and since it is a slip and I would want it more close fitting anyway, I just changed the seam allowance. It had a 5/8 seam allowance built in, so I just altered it to a 3/8 and gave myself just that fraction of a little tiny bit, and the fit is fine. It's perfect. Even if I didn't do that, it probably would have been okay, but this gives me just a little bit more ease. So good pattern for a basic slip. These may be available eBay, Etsy. This one was given to me by a friend. But yes, can recommend. Very simple. And then my other pattern that I have in the works, which hit the back burner when I realized, or when my son helped me realize, how many projects I needed to complete for events and things in April, that he said, you better stop working on that and work on the things that you actually need to have done. This is on my Make 9. Also, so you may have already seen this, McCall's basic skirt pattern. I have done this. I French seamed this. I have it completely done. The zipper is basted in. The waistband needs to be attached, and it needs to be hemmed. So just those few things are what are left to do this, and then I'll have just a basic black skirt, which you really aren't going to be able to see much. I altered, here's the my scissor. My zipper is basted in. It did not have for a zip closure on the view that I was doing. It wanted you to do snaps. There's no way. I would be popping those snaps all the time. Any kind of movement just, you know, would be opening those. So I just put in a standard side zip. I don't like invisible zippers. This is just a regular zipper, nylon. And so I didn't do a lapped zipper or anything. I don't care for them either. If you just have that piece flapping all the time, I don't understand the attraction to lap zippers. Maybe it's just me, but I have no problem with just a center seamed zipper. And then I'm going to do, I believe it's a buttonhole on this. I'm not 100% sure if this one calls for a buttonhole or just a clasp, but it's the wider waistband, and that is fully, I want to say lined. What's wrong with my brain today? Interfaced. Thank you. Interfaced. Okay. And that is all I currently really have in progress. I have some languishing works in progresses of dresses and things, but I'm not going to get into any of that now. It's all everywhere. So, the next thing that we have are sewing acquisitions. Okay, in the world of books, I had this book once before and I sold it. I had purchased it for quite a bit of money, I believe, on eBay or Etsy. I bought it on eBay, and then I sold it later on Etsy. But this one I found at my workplace. It was sometime last year, but I'm going to include it because it's a classic, and it's something that, you know, everybody, it's like the holy grail of sewing books. The Modern Pattern Design by Harriet Pepin, and my original one that I had did not have the dust jacket. It was just plain. It's not in the greatest condition, but it's there. And this one also has some little tabs that somebody added onto it. They're little typed tabs that tell them what's in the section. Shirring, replacing, control, under, yoke design, drapery design, and also I love when you get old stuff and you have, you know, the original owner's information inside it. This apparently is the shipping label that was on the package when she received it. It had come from the home economics, I guess, department. maybe I'm reading that from, yeah, it wasn't from 2. I don't know, but it does have, it has the owner's name in it. She was from Norman, Oklahoma. And the address that it went to was Alpha Gamma Delta House. So she used this while she was in the university. And, yeah, it says University of Oklahoma, 1949. So I think that's fun. And anybody that knows vintage sewing knows this book. So I won't go into any more, you know, details on that. But it's like the #1 best reference. And I got it for an absolute song at the shop that I work at. So great, great to have another copy of that did not break the bank. Okay, so the other thing I got recently, again at work, my work is a treasure trove. This is not specifically sewing or knitting, but I thought I would just throw it in here because it's great inspiration. Today's Fashions, Chicago Mail Order Company, 1943 Spring and Summer Catalog. I have a collection of vintage catalogs, and if you ever want to be inspired for design, fabrics, anything like that, these catalogs are just wonderful. I love them. So there's that. Okay, modern sewing. Let's see, I guess I will show you, since we're on the vintage aspect of sewing right now, and as far as books and things goes, all these are, again, from my work. I've got some notions, vintage buckles on their cards. I love these kind that connect. And here I got one yellow, one purple. There's another large bag of assorted buttons. Vintage fabric. This actually has a designer name, and I've totally did not write it down, and I forgot what it was. I don't think it's on the bias, but it was written on the tag. Oh, maybe it is. It's called Moonlight. J. Mann's Company Incorporated. That's the fabric. I think this is like maybe late 50s, early 60s. It's a really nice cotton shirting. I'm hoping to make a Gertie, not Gertie, well, it is Gertie technically, but a Rita blouse from her pattern, Charm Patterns, Rita blouse out of this. I think this very summery, very cute, black and yellow flowers. There's that. It's just a little over 2 yards, I think I got of that. This I don't remember the yardage on, but it's really nice woven. It's not printed, and it's an actual woven, nice cotton shirting. It has these little pink and green stripes, and then the little white flower details and blue. I think that's another cute little top. And then this is a collection that was put together by the original owner of all the pieces she was going to make. She was going to make a dress. It doesn't have the pattern, but the vendor told me that it was going to be just like a little A-line basic shift dress, possibly. I'm not sure how she was going to incorporate this trim, maybe around a neckline. But the fabric, let me show you the fabric first. It has her lining fabric, it has her main fabric, and it has her zipper. It's a navy blue, if you can tell the color, maybe against my dress. It's a navy blue tie silk. I believe I have about 3 yards. And this is not the first time that I have bought this tie silk from this vendor. She had gone to an estate sale where she bought up multiple cuts from this same lady who had traveled, yeah, 3 yards of the blue tie silk. And she bought it while she was on a trip, and it comes with its original information sheet about the tie silk from Bangkok, Thailand. So this is, silk is expensive, but I got a fabulous deal on this. And I bought a piece of purple and green plaid from the same seller. It was from the same owner. This was the trim that she had to go with it. It has like little mirrored discs in between here that sparkle, and it's stitched really pretty, but just a small piece, so it would just maybe be a neckline. I'd like to try to keep all this together to make something out of it, just because that's, you know, the way the original owner had. But I'm ready to go. I've got lining, got this fabric, I've got even a metal zipper, so that's ready to go to be something special. Also, this I can't believe now when I think about it. It's like, I don't know what I was thinking. And if you look up the price per yard of what silk fabric cost, I went back for this because this is 7 yards of just basic black silk. It's heavier. It's not as lightweight as the other one, but it's not too heavy for clothing by any means. I think it's a Dupioni. It has those that little texture and the slub on it. I forget if that's what that's called. You're not going to be able to tell because it's black, but 7 yards, and I believe I paid $27. I don't even think you could get 1 yard of silk for $27 now. So 7 yards. This is going to become a fabulous 1950s cocktail dress, and I'm going to take my time with this one, and it's going to have to be really special because I will probably never have a fabulous big cut of silk like this again. So that's what this is going to be. So stay tuned. And that is all I have for the vintage cuts. Actually, I do have more somewhere, but I'm not sure what I did with them, so we will save that for next time. Modern stuff. I found this in Hobby Lobby. It was on clearance, $3 a yard. It's just basic turquoise rayon, but $3 a yard. So I just, you know, as you do, just give me all of it. So I forget how many yards I got, but I think I paid, I don't know, $14, $20. So you always can use a nice basic, and turquoise, one of my favorites. So there's that. And then when Joann's is having their flannel clearance that's like 75% off or something, and you walk by, you can't help yourself. So these guys had to come home with me. I don't know what they're going to be, but they're just too adorable. Maybe a top? Would that look totally silly? A flannel top with little baby birds? Little blue birds? They're so sweet. They remind me of little lovebirds and little pink flowers. I'm sure it was intended for some kind of baby thing, sheets or something, but I think they're just too adorable. And it's flannel, so I don't know. It's going to be a little tricky, but I just got a couple of yards. And then more plaid flannel. I can't have enough of this, so I forget how much I got. Maybe enough for a dress. I'm not against a plaid flannel dress. I think it'd be nice and cozy, great for work. And again, it's mint green and black, so couldn't leave that there. 75% off. I mean, these were like dirt cheap, so stay tuned to see if I get around to making that into something. Oh, here's the rest of the vintage fabric that I just mentioned. Or at least some of it. Not all of it. I didn't even take this one out of its little roll. Green roses, blue, very sweet. Probably enough for a little top. Couple of dollars for this, maybe. What else? Okay, this is big and bulky. I saw this, and I don't I don't buy fleece. I mean, every time I go in the store, there's ads for tons and tons of fleece. Everybody buys fleece. It seems to be the thing. Everybody's making blankets and this and that. But it doesn't usually come up to be something that I need for anything. But when I saw this print, and then I figured out, oh, hey, this is exactly a print that I had on my wish list or my Pinterest page. That was a Michael Miller print, but it was in cotton, and they have it on fabric.com, this exact same print. Now, whether or not this is his print, I don't know. It didn't say it was. This was at Hobby Lobby, and it was on sale. It wasn't on clearance, but it was on sale. And it wasn't a smooth fleece, but it's more of a fur textured fleece. So it's not as stiff. It's a little lighter. But this color, I just love this color combination. How many times have I said that? Turquoise and red, cherries with white polka dots, and it's this furry, so soft. Like, it's, I guess, is this qualify as a minky? I know the minkies have dots. Are the smooth ones minky too? Maybe they are. Like I said, I'm not versed in fleece, but this had to come home with me. But first I figured out what I was going to do with it, and I did not pull the pattern, but I have a vintage pattern for a robe that has a fitted top. It has a collar, and it's floor length, and it's really full. A full skirt, fitted top, long sleeves with cuffs and a scalloped collar. And I believe it's double-breasted, if I'm not mistaken. It's an advanced pattern. I will have to grade it up a little bit, but that shouldn't be too difficult. So I think this would be, I mean, just imagine yards of this swishy, minky fabric just in this big skirt with cherries. I think it's going to be so gorgeous. I want to make it so bad. And then I got, for the contrast collar and cuffs, I got the white minky, which I think is going to be, it's just going to be so luxurious. I just can't, I just want to wear, I'll wear it all the time. So this is definitely an adventure. It'll be for next winter, because it'll be just too hot to wear now, but I think this will just be so yummy. And then I had the brilliant idea. I have a vintage slipper pattern, and how cute would it be to make slippers in red dot minky to match, because white, you know, would get dirty and stuff. So red, which they do have, to match the cherries to go with it. I have to get the robe made first, but oh my goodness, so soft, so soft. Yeah, definitely not what I'm used to sewing with, but it might be a little bit of a challenge, but I think it's gonna be fun. Okay, and I think that is it for acquisitions in fabric. I have a couple other, I have patterns, and then I have these other cutesy little things I picked up. Joann's has these little bags. This one is the 1940s. I have one open, so I'll show you. This one is the 1940s print. This is the 1950s. Their simplicity. And then here is the 1930s, which I have open. They're just great little nylon tote bags. And then you can fold them up into the pocket, and then when you open them, the pocket goes to the inside. But it's really big, full size. This is the 1930s. Ugh. Simplicity. I love them. They're adorable. There was an umbrella too. I did not bring it upstairs with me, but if you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen that. And then patterns. These are my newest patterns that I got at the last Joann sale. I'll just go through them quickly because they're not anything that isn't around that you can't find for yourself. 3731 Simplicity. This one, it's the Repro, 1950s. So Chic Pattern Company, Simplicity, 8439. Look at that. 8732 Simplicity, 1950s vintage. that one. The new Gertie, 8873 Simplicity. And I don't have it in front of me, but I did also get the blouse pattern. That's Gertie. I think I showed that in another video, so that may be why that's separate. 87.99 Simplicity Nightgown. Another repro. All these are reproductions, needless to say. 87.47. 84.60. This one's been out for a while, but I just never gotten around to getting this one. This one says 50s. I'm thinking it's probably late 50s. It's not my exact aesthetic, but if I could come up with a fabric or style, not style, but something to make it more look like something that I would like. It has nice shape to it. It's just a basic little dress here. You can see the dress by itself in this one without the little jacket type. I'm not into that little lace jackety thing. It's just too Mother of the Bride looking to me, and that's not something I want to look like. It's cute with this little jacket. I like that. Okay, and two more. 87.36 Simplicity blouse pattern. I definitely have plenty of fabric for blouses now, so I've got to get cracking on those. And a 1950s 84.58 Simplicity skirt pattern. I like the little details on the buttons on this one. Cute, basic. And that is it for acquisitions for everything. So this last section, I'd just like to talk a little bit about me and my personal life. To a limit. Why I started this YouTube channel. If you're interested, you know, stick around. I have been knitting since I was about a teenager. Not strictly very well or correctly, and I didn't do a ton of it. I kind of dropped it. I picked up crochet again when I opened my Etsy shop and did my snoods. I also did doll outfits, vintage doll called Mary Hoyer from the 1950s. I used to make outfits and sell them on eBay. So I have a lot of experience in crochet, more than anything. Sewing I've done since I was little, always interested in sewing, didn't do a ton of it. Sewed with my grandmother, my mom. I made my dress for my high school graduation senior assembly, and I tried to make it. Was an 80s pattern. It had big puffy sleeves. Again, I made it in a polished cotton that was white with turquoise ribbon print. Very vintage looking print. So my aesthetic has always leaned toward anything that at least was reminiscent of the 1940s, 1950s. That's something that is just a style that I always liked. I grew up watching all the old movies, Judy McDonald, Deanna Durbin, just love all those. The old musicals I loved when I was a teenager. So my love for all vintage comes from all those things, and my grandparents were from the Depression era, 1930s, and that's when, you know, they were married around that time, so they were a big influence in my love for old things because they saved all their old things, and those were the things that I was most familiar with. So fast forward to recent years. I'm married. Been married for 20 plus years, and I have a 16-year-old son. We live in Fort Smith, Arkansas. It is the second largest city in the state. Is in the not quite northwest corner, but it is in the river valley, so it is right below the or should say we're just above, no, yes, right below the Arkansas River. We are on the border. The Arkansas River runs through, borders us and the town above us. I'm not originally a Southern girl. I am an East Coast Yankee. I was born in Brooklyn, New York, and I grew up in a small town in northeastern Pennsylvania. But when I got married, I moved here. This is where my husband grew up. And so we have been living in Fort Smith for the past 20 years. I think it's just about 20 years. Yeah, going on 20 years this summer. So I work at a antique mall in town, as I mentioned earlier, Bellstar Antique Mall. It's the best. And it keeps me broke. It's my job, but it keeps me, you know, always finding fabulous treasures. So back in November of 2017, I ended up in the emergency room after work due to having some stomach pains that I thought might be a kidney stone. So turned out that I had an ovarian mass that led to surgery and removal of that in December of 2017. And upon doing a biopsy of that mass, it was found to have a little malignancy in it. So that set me up to have chemo for through the spring of 2018 to make sure that there was no cancer left anywhere. The mass was fully removed, but I still had to go through, was about 6 weeks worth of chemotherapy, and followed by a full hysterectomy surgery last July 2018. So after going through all that, I kind of have had to rebuild my life, and it's definitely been a life-changing experience, both mentally and physically. I was not prepared to lose my hair during chemo. It was one of the things that the chemo that I had was supposed to be mild enough that that was not going to happen. So, but I did, and it's finally, it's coming back now. I've never had hair. I have had it this short, but you know, when it was starting to grow out, it was definitely an experience to go through that. It's I'm happy to have it back and feel more like myself again. Energy is something that comes and goes. I am trying to do YouTube now to help me have more sense of self in the things that I love and give me something new to do and to share my experiences and to keep me motivated, because I have these down days where I just really don't feel like doing anything. So if I have a goal and I have to have a video ready for you guys, and I have to share what I've been sewing and what I've been knitting and all those things and my vintage that I have acquired, it gives me something to look forward to and something to keep me looking forward and not have to focus on the negativity of what I had been through. I am 100% cancer free now. Very happy to have that. I still have to go for regular checkups and things to make sure nothing new crops up, but I just thought I would let you know where I'm coming from and what I've been through recently and what you might have to look forward to. I would like to do a video once a week, and that is my goal for now. If you ever see that I don't have one up, Wednesday is my goal day to do it. Just know that it's probably just not been the best week for me, and I just was not able to get myself in gear and fixed up enough to film. But hopefully that won't happen, and as the spring weather is coming, and it has been absolutely gorgeous here the last few days, and the summer is coming, I always feel motivated to sew for these seasons because they're my favorite, and I just love I love cotton dresses, and I want to make bunches of them, and I have the fabric to make bunches of them, so I really need to get going. As far as the channel goes, I would love to have your comments on what you would like to see here. I have lots of things I could share about vintage, about sewing. Do you want to see tutorials? I am not in any way an expert in any of these areas, sewing, knitting, any of it. A lot of things I'm still learning and improving upon, especially in the knitting world. But I want to share that journey with you, and I think that will be fun, and I hope it will be fun for you, and I hope you come back. So, as this is probably going to be the longest video I have posted to date, the next one should not be as long, but I think I'm going to leave it right there, and I'm going to say my goodbyes. And if you stayed this long, thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed already, I would love it so much if you did. Please like and share this video, and there's also a little bell below. If you subscribe and you tick that little bell, it will give you notifications whenever I upload a new video, so that way you won't miss anything. I hope to see you again next week, and I hope to see you for many more videos in the future. And on that note, bye.